Welcome back to Footy A to Z and our preview for the upcoming AFLW season. 4 teams have been added to the league this year, taking the total number to 14, which will again be split over 2 conferences. The home and away season will last 8 games, with each team playing the other team in their conference once, as well as 2 cross-conference matches. The top 3 teams from each conference will then play in the finals series. In this video, we look at the 7 teams in Conference B. While they were runners-up in 2019, Carlton were by no means regarded as the second best side in the competition, critics saying that their success was in part due to playing in a weaker conference. That being said, it is undeniable the Blues displayed a dominant run home, winning their last 3 games to finish on top of Conference B. If Carlton were to gain another run of momentum in the 2020 season, it's hard not to see them featuring among finals contenders by the season's end. As one of the inaugural AFLW sides, Carlton will seek to draw on the experience of players like Taylor Harris, who is an imposing figure up forward when at her best. Keen to capitalise on Harris's forward line dominance will be pacey Blues forwards Georgia G and Brooke Walker, who proved a handful for North Melbourne defenders in their recent clash. While all eyes in the midfield will turn to pick number 2, Lucy McAvoy, who will be hoping to provide some much needed X factor out of the middle. While Carlton seem poised to again aim for success, expect them to have a harder time qualifying for finals than they did in 2019, as the competition increases in Conference B. Collingwood will be hoping that they can translate their VFLW success into a strong performance at the AFLW level. The Magpies finished last in Conference B in 2019, managing just 1 win for the season, but then rebounded to take out the premiership in the State League competition. The return of defender Chloe Molloy will help the Magpies' chances. Molloy won the 2018 Rising Star Award in a landslide before missing the entirety of the 2019 season due to injury. At just 162 centimetres, Jamie Lambert has proven herself to be a difficult matchup in the middle of the ground. Her 15.6 disposals and 1 goal a game in 2019 seen her claim the Collingwood best and fairest. Experienced captain Steph Chiocci will lead the club for the 4th consecutive year. Much of the Magpies' strength lies in defenders Ash Brazel and Stacey Livingston, and despite their poor results last year, they conceded the 4th fewest points of any side. However, they were also the league's 2nd lowest scoring side, so if the Magpies are going to compete in 2020, they'll need to find some scoring options, and it looks as if Molloy may be sent forward in order to achieve this. Fremantle will not take long to ignite AFLW rivalry, logically being placed in the same conference as arch-enemies and newer rivals West Coast. After finishing in 2nd in Conference A last year, and equal on points with conference leaders Adelaide, the Dockers wouldn't be blamed for feeling somewhat hard done by as they fell short against the informed Blues in the semi-final, while Fremantle themselves were marred by injury. The Dockers are a talented side. Kiara Bowers and Gemma Houghton both received All-Australian honours last year. Cara Antonio also strengthens the midfield with a natural ability to accumulate possessions. The Dockers are a free-flowing attacking side, with the ability to turn the game on its head in the space of a quarter. Look for them to attack early on in games. It seems the Dockers' main challenge this year will come from teams with a defence capable of absorbing their pressure. If they can keep their best team fit, expect them to go deep into the competition. Melbourne will be delighted to welcome the return of captain Daisy Pearce, who was unavailable last season due to pregnancy. Daisy will add class and composure to the team's midfield. Demons fans will eagerly await to see Daisy combine with ruck Lauren Pearce, who will miss the early part of the season as she recovers from a knee injury. Throw 3-time All-Australian Karen Paxman into the mix, and the Demons have a very strong core, although don't be surprised if we see Pearce spend more time across half-back, as she did in Melbourne's practice match against Collingwood. After finishing runner-up in Melbourne's BNF last year, Lauren Pearce followed it up with a career-best season in the VFLW, adding the league's best and fairest to her trophy cabinet. It's when the ball hits the deck, however, that Pearce does some of her best work, many considering her as another midfielder around the ground. With Tegan Cunningham, Kate Hall, and Alicia Newman all also working to overcome injury in time for round 1, the Ds will be hopeful everything falls into place just in time to launch their 4th AFLW campaign. The Demons are consistent across the board, making it hard to find a weak link that would be detrimental to their campaign, largely underperforming in AFLW seasons to date, it'll be up to coach Mick Stinia to pull what is an obviously talented list together and challenge for the club's first AFLW title. The Saints team is headlined by Caitlin Greiser, who led the VFLW's goal kicking last year with 22 majors. Greiser is arguably St Kilda's most dynamic player and will be at the centre of any success the Saints might have in their first season. After finishing atop the VFLW ladder, Saints fans will be hopeful their club can carry that form to the higher level after failing to secure a spot in the grand final at the hands of eventual premiers Collingwood. St Kilda have a lot of upside heading into their first AFLW season. In their 22-point practice match win over the Suns, they were able to display much of their young talent. Namely, midfielder Olivia Vesely shone with 20 possessions and a goal, and classy young gun Georgia Patrikios registered 14 disposals and 4 inside 50s to again showcase her skills. If the Saints can find the right balance in their side of young talent and experienced heads to lead the way, it would not be too optimistic to expect immediate success at Moorabbin. Newly introduced in 2020, West Coast will feel early pressure as they search for local bragging rights over the Dockers. Dana Hooker headlines several Eagle players who have crossed over from Fremantle, with the experienced midfielder keen to make an impact for a new club. She'll play alongside Eagles captain Emma Swanson, who returns home after a 3-year stint at the Giants that earned her an All-Australian selection in 2017. Irish recruits have had a big impact on early AFLW seasons, and the Eagles have added sisters Neve and Grace Kelly, both Gaelic footballers back home, to their list for 2020. With plenty of depth through the midfield, the Eagles are another new side that should be able to compete from the outset, although they may struggle against some of the competition, and a round 2 derby against Fremantle should give us a good indication of where they stand. The Western Bulldogs will enter the 2020 season with a point to prove to the rest of the competition. After winning the previous year's tournament, the Doggies never found their feet in 2019, slumping to the bottom of Conference A with just 2 wins. The Bulldogs also face an obstacle to find new players with match-winning quality, as star duo Monique Conti and Katie Brennan depart the kennel for Tigerland. Instead, they will turn to young talent, having acquired 4 picks in the top 10 of last year's draft, including number 1 Gabby Newton, so we can expect many of their best performances could come from their first-year players. They will, however, be glad to again turn to the ever-reliable services of midfielder and new captain Ali Blackburn. A 2-time All-Australian, Blackburn will lead from the front, and the Bulldogs will be hoping her breakaway pace and goal-kicking prowess will pave the way for younger players to follow. While we don't expect the Bulldogs to challenge for a final spot this season, if they can keep their young players together, they could be a force to be reckoned with in the coming years. While there are clear standouts in Conference A, we expect to see a much more even contest in Conference B. Teams like Carlton, Fremantle and Melbourne are tipped by many to do well, but it will be hard to be surprised no matter who grabs the top 3 spots. If you enjoyed this video, but missed out on our Conference A analysis yesterday, click here to watch it now. And if you would like to see more AFLW content, please let us know in the comments and subscribe.